What if I told you that hidden within 4 simple words lies the master key to all spiritual transformation? A secret so powerful that ancient mystics carved it into temple walls, alchemists whispered it in hidden chambers, and early Christian Gnostics died, protecting it from those who would suppress this knowledge? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most misunderstood, yet profound spiritual principles ever conceived. As above, so below. But here's what most people get wrong about this ancient axiom. They think it's just pretty spiritual poetry. They couldn't be more mistaken. This isn't some new age platitude. This is a technological blueprint for reality itself. A formula that the greatest spiritual masters throughout history have used to literally reshape their world from the inside out. The Hermetic philosophers called it the foundation of all magic. Jesus himself taught this principle, though the church has spent centuries trying to bury that truth. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this single concept has been called the master key to unlock every spiritual mystery, why it was considered so dangerous that entire libraries were burned to keep it from the masses, and most importantly, how you can begin applying this ancient technology in your own life starting today. But I need to warn you, once you truly grasp what I'm about to share, you'll never see reality the same way again. The illusion of separation between the physical and spiritual worlds will crumble before your eyes. Are you ready for that level of awakening? Let's begin. Picture this. It's the 2nd century in Alexandria, Egypt. The greatest minds of the ancient world have gathered in the legendary library, the intellectual heart of civilization. Greek philosophers debate with Egyptian priests. Jewish mystics share secrets with Persian magi. And in the shadows, a mysterious figure known only as Hermes Trismegistus, thrice great Hermes, reveals teachings that will echo through the millennia. These weren't just philosophical discussions happening over wine and olives. These were practical workshops in consciousness transformation. Think of it like an ancient university for advanced spiritual technology, where the curriculum included how to literally bend reality through understanding its fundamental operating principles. Now, Hermes Trismegistus may have been a legendary figure, a fusion of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth, but the teachings attributed to him were devastatingly real and practical. The Hermetic texts that emerged from this tradition contained what can only be described as an instruction manual for reality itself. The most famous of these teachings appears in the Emerald Tablet, a cryptic text that begins with these words: "That which is below is like that which is above, and that which is above is like that which is below, to accomplish the miracles of the one thing." But here's what's absolutely fascinating. This same principle shows up everywhere once you know how to look for it. In the Jewish Kabbalah, it's embedded in the structure of the tree of life. In Christianity, Jesus speaks of it when he says, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." In Hinduism, it's reflected in the concept of as is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. Even modern quantum physics is beginning to rediscover this ancient truth through concepts like the holographic universe theory, the idea that every part contains information about the whole. Think about that for a moment. Cultures separated by thousands of miles and hundreds of years, all arriving at the same fundamental insight about how reality operates. That's not coincidence. That's recognition of a universal principle so fundamental that it's written into the very fabric of existence. But here's where it gets interesting. While these ancient traditions preserved this knowledge, they also recognized its incredible power. and potential for misuse. The Hermetic schools were mystery schools for a reason. Students underwent years of preparation before being trusted with the deeper teachings. The early Christian church, particularly after Constantine, saw these teachings as a threat to centralized religious authority. If individuals could directly access divine power through understanding universal principles, what need would they have for institutional mediation? So began centuries of suppression, book burning, and persecution of anyone who dared teach these forbidden truths. Medieval alchemists had to disguise their spiritual work as chemistry to avoid persecution. They spoke of transforming lead into gold, but they were really teaching the transformation of the lower self into the higher self, the base consciousness into enlightened awareness. The Renaissance Hermetic revival brought figures like Giordano Bruno, who was literally burned at the stake for teaching that the universe was infinite and that divine intelligence operated through natural law rather than arbitrary intervention. Why such extreme reaction to what might seem like abstract philosophy? Because those in power understood something that most modern people have forgotten. These aren't just ideas to contemplate. They're operational principles that, when properly understood and applied, give individuals tremendous power over their own reality. And that brings us to today. In our materialist age, we've largely forgotten that we live in an intelligent, responsive universe that operates according to discoverable principles. We've been conditioned to see ourselves as separate from and powerless within creation, when the ancient wisdom tradition teaches exactly the opposite. But the knowledge survived. It went underground, preserved in esoteric traditions, encoded in religious symbolism, and hidden in plain sight within sacred texts. And now, at this crucial moment in human evolution, it's time for this knowledge to emerge from the shadows once again. So what does "as above, so below" actually mean? Let's cut through centuries of mystical language and get to the practical core of this teaching. At its most fundamental level, this principle describes the fractal nature of reality. The idea that the same patterns, laws, and structures that operate at cosmic scales also operate at microscopic scales, and everything in between. But it goes much deeper than just pattern recognition. The above refers to the realm of consciousness, spirit, divine intelligence. Call it whatever resonates with you. This is the realm of pure potential, of archetypal forms, of the templates from which all physical manifestation springs. The below refers to the material world, the physical realm where these spiritual templates take concrete form. The principle teaches that these aren't separate realms. They're different octaves of the same reality, operating according to the same fundamental laws. More importantly, it teaches that the higher realm has creative priority. What manifests below in the physical world is always a reflection of what exists above in the realm of consciousness. Now here's where this gets practically revolutionary. You are a living bridge between these realms. Your consciousness operates in the above. Your body exists in the below. And through understanding this principle, you can consciously participate in the process of manifestation. Think about it this way. Every human-made object around you right now existed first as a thought, an idea, a vision in someone's consciousness before it took physical form. The chair you're sitting in, the device you're watching this on, the building you're in, all of it started as pure consciousness before becoming matter. But the ancients understood something we've forgotten. This process isn't limited to physical objects. It applies to every aspect of your experience, your health, your relationships, your circumstances, your very sense of identity. The Hermetic axiom teaches that your outer world is a perfect mirror of your inner world. Not metaphorically, literally. The patterns of thought, emotion, and belief that you habitually maintain in consciousness will inevitably express themselves in your physical experience. This is why Jesus taught, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." This is why the Buddha said, "All that we are is the result of what we have thought." This is why every wisdom tradition emphasizes the cultivation of consciousness as the foundation of transformation. But here's the part that blows most people's minds. This isn't just about positive thinking or visualization. This is about understanding that consciousness is the fundamental substance from which reality is constructed. The physical world isn't separate from consciousness. It's consciousness in a different state, like ice is water in a different state. When you truly grasp this, you realize that you're not a physical being having occasional spiritual experiences. You're a spiritual being having a temporary physical experience. The real you, the conscious awareness reading these words right now, is operating from the above realm right now, creating your experience from the inside out. Now, I know this might sound abstract, so let me give you a concrete example. Have you ever noticed that when you're in a genuinely good mood, not forced positivity, but authentic joy, everything around you seems to go more smoothly? People are friendlier, traffic flows better, you find parking spots, unexpected opportunities appear? That's not coincidence. That's the principle of as above, so below in action. Your elevated consciousness above is literally reorganizing the patterns of your experience below. The same principle works in reverse. When you're caught in patterns of fear, anger, or victim consciousness above, your external world below will mirror those patterns back to you through difficult circumstances, challenging people, and frustrating situations. This is why the ancient mystery schools spent so much time on what they called the purification of consciousness. They understood that trying to change your life by manipulating external circumstances while ignoring the consciousness that creates those circumstances is like trying to change your reflection by rearranging the mirror. If you're finding this perspective eye-opening and you want to dive deeper into these ancient wisdom teachings that can transform your life, I'd be incredibly grateful if you'd hit that subscribe button. There's so much more to explore together, and your subscription helps me continue bringing these powerful teachings to light. The principle also reveals something profound about the nature of spiritual development itself. True spiritual growth isn't about escaping the physical world. It's about recognizing the physical world as a training ground for consciousness development. Every challenge you face, every relationship you navigate, every circumstance you encounter is giving you information about the patterns operating in your consciousness. The external world becomes a feedback system, constantly showing you what you need to see about your internal world. This completely reframes how you approach life's difficulties. Instead of seeing them as random misfortunes or cosmic punishment, you begin to recognize them as precise communications from the universe, showing you exactly where your consciousness needs attention and development. Now here's where things get really interesting. This principle isn't just found in obscure Hermetic texts. It's woven throughout the very scriptures that millions of people read every day. hidden in plain sight. Let's start with the most obvious example, the Lord's Prayer. When Jesus teaches his disciples to pray, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven," he's giving them a direct instruction in the principle of as above, so below. He's teaching them to align their consciousness with divine will so that heavenly patterns can manifest in earthly experience. But it goes much deeper than that single verse. The entire structure of biblical cosmology is built around this principle. In Genesis, you see God creating through the power of the Word, consciousness expressing itself into material form. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. That's pure Hermetic teaching. Consciousness precedes and creates physical manifestation. The tabernacle and later the temple were designed as three-dimensional representations of this principle. The Holy of Holies represented the above realm of pure spirit. The outer court represented the below realm of physical manifestation. And the various ceremonies were rituals designed to align these two dimensions of reality. Even the structure of the human being is described in Hermetic terms: body, soul, and spirit corresponding to the lower, middle, and higher aspects of existence. Paul speaks of this when he refers to the natural man, the soulish man, and the spiritual man. Three levels of human consciousness operating according to the same universal principle. Here's something that will absolutely blow your mind. The entire story of Jesus can be read as an extended teaching on, as above, so below. Jesus represents perfect consciousness, the above, taking physical form in the below to demonstrate how divine patterns can manifest in material reality. His miracles aren't supernatural violations of natural law. They're demonstrations of what becomes possible when consciousness is perfectly aligned with universal principles. When Jesus walks on water, he's demonstrating mastery over the physical realm through elevated consciousness. When he multiplies loaves and fishes, he's showing how consciousness can organize matter in ways that seem impossible from a purely material perspective. When he heals the sick, he's demonstrating how shifts in consciousness can instantly reorganize physical patterns. But here's the key that most miss. Jesus consistently taught that his followers could do the same things. "Greater works than these shall ye do," he promised. He wasn't claiming to be uniquely divine. He was demonstrating the divine potential that exists within properly aligned human consciousness. The Gnostic texts, which the Church suppressed for centuries, make this teaching explicit. The Gospel of Philip states, "Those who say they will die first and then rise are in error. If they do not first receive the resurrection while they live, when they die they will receive nothing." That's pure Hermetic teaching about consciousness transformation. The Gospel of Thomas records Jesus saying, "The kingdom of heaven is spread upon the earth, but men do not see it." Why don't they see it? Because they're looking for the kingdom in the below, without understanding that it must first be established in the above, in consciousness. Even the crucifixion and resurrection story carries this principle. The crucifixion represents the death of ego consciousness, the false self that believes it's separate from divine intelligence. The resurrection represents the awakening to your true nature as consciousness itself, eternal and unlimited. This is why the early Christian mystics spoke of being crucified with Christ. They understood this as a description of the consciousness transformation process, not just a historical event to believe in. The Apostle Paul, who had his own direct mystical experience, understood this clearly. When he writes about being transformed by the renewing of your mind, he's teaching pure Hermetic principle. When he speaks of putting off the old man and putting on the new man, he's describing the shift from ego consciousness to Christ consciousness, from the below identification to the above realization. But perhaps the most explicit biblical teaching on this principle comes from the book of Hebrews, where it states that earthly things are patterns of things in the heavens. This is direct acknowledgement that physical reality is structured according to spiritual templates. The tragedy is that centuries of institutional interpretation have obscured these teachings behind layers of dogma and literalism. The Church transformed living wisdom into dead doctrine, experiential truth into intellectual belief. They told people that these states of consciousness were available only to Jesus, or only after death, or only through institutional mediation. They turned the most empowering teaching in human history, that you are consciousness itself, with the power to transform your reality through understanding universal principles, into a story about your fundamental sinfulness and powerlessness. But the truth was never really lost. It went underground, preserved by mystics, alchemists, and esoteric traditions. The Rosicrucians carried it through the medieval period. The Renaissance Hermeticists brought it back into intellectual discourse. The Romantic poets encoded it in literature. And now, at this crucial moment in history, it's time for this knowledge to emerge fully into the light. Speaking of bringing ancient wisdom into the light, if these revelations about hidden spiritual knowledge are resonating with you, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to join our community of truth seekers. We're just getting started, and there are incredible depths yet to explore. Now let's get practical. How do you actually work with this principle in daily life? How do you move beyond understanding it intellectually to experiencing it as a living reality? First, you need to understand that most people live their entire lives backwards according to this principle. They try to change their experience by manipulating external circumstances while completely ignoring the consciousness that creates those circumstances. They want better relationships while maintaining judgmental thoughts about others. They want financial abundance while holding beliefs about scarcity and unworthiness. They want physical healing while maintaining patterns of stress and self-attack. It's like trying to change your reflection by rearranging the mirror. It simply doesn't work that way. The principle of as above, so below teaches you to work with reality as it actually operates, from the inside out, from consciousness to manifestation, from spirit to matter. Here's your first practical step. Begin observing your external world as a feedback system for your internal world. Every person you encounter, every situation you experience, every circumstance in your life is giving you precise information about the patterns operating in your consciousness. If you're consistently experiencing conflict with others, ask yourself, what pattern of conflict am I maintaining in my own consciousness? If you're struggling financially, examine, what beliefs about money, worth, and abundance am I unconsciously holding? If you're dealing with health issues, explore, what patterns of stress, fear, or self-rejection might be expressing themselves through my body? This isn't about blame or self-judgment. It's about taking conscious responsibility for your creative power. Once you understand that your outer world is reflecting your inner world, you can begin to work with the actual cause rather than just treating symptoms. Your second practical step: learn to work with your consciousness deliberately and systematically. This means developing what the ancients called mastery of mind, the ability to consciously choose and maintain specific patterns of thought and feeling. Start with simple meditation practices. Spend time each day cultivating states of consciousness that reflect what you want to experience in your life. If you want more peace, practice maintaining peaceful awareness. If you want more love, practice holding loving thoughts toward yourself and others. If you want more abundance, practice gratitude for what you already have. But here's the key that most people miss. This isn't about forced positive thinking or denial of what's happening in your life. It's about understanding that consciousness is like a radio tuner. Whatever frequency you consistently maintain is what you'll experience in your life. Your third practical step: work with the principle through your physical body. Remember, you are the living bridge between above and below. Your body isn't separate from your consciousness. It's consciousness expressed in material form. This means that how you treat your body affects your consciousness, and how you maintain your consciousness affects your body. Eat foods that support clarity and vitality. Move your body in ways that generate energy and aliveness. Breathe consciously and deeply. These aren't just physical health practices, they're consciousness practices. Your fourth practical step: use the principle in your relationships. Every person in your life is showing up to mirror something back to you about your own consciousness. The people who trigger you the most are actually your greatest teachers, showing you exactly where you need to develop greater love, patience, or understanding within yourself. Instead of trying to change others, focus on transforming the patterns within your own consciousness that are attracting those particular dynamics. As you shift internally, your external relationships will automatically reorganize to match your new level of consciousness. Your fifth practical step: apply the principle to your work and creative expression. Your outer work is meant to be an expression of your inner development. Instead of just working for money or security, ask yourself, how can my work become a vehicle for expressing the highest qualities of my consciousness? When your external activities align with your internal values and purpose, you tap into a natural flow of energy and support that makes even challenging tasks feel effortless. Now, let me share something crucial about working with this principle. Results don't always show up immediately in the way you expect. The universe operates according to perfect timing and intelligence that often transcends our limited perspective. Sometimes what looks like a problem is actually the universe reorganizing to bring you something better than what you originally wanted. Sometimes apparent delays are protecting you from receiving something before you're truly ready for it. The key is to maintain your practices consistently, trust the process, and stay open to how the principle might be working in ways you haven't yet recognized. Here's a powerful daily practice that brings everything together. Each morning, spend a few minutes consciously aligning your above and below. Set an intention for the kind of consciousness you want to embody that day, and ask that your physical experience reflect and support that consciousness. Each evening, review your day from this perspective. What did your external experiences teach you about your internal patterns? Where did you see the principle working in your life? What adjustments do you want to make for tomorrow? If you're ready to commit to this path of conscious creation and you want to continue learning these transformative principles with me, please subscribe and let me know in the comments what aspects of as above, so below, you're most excited to explore in your own life. As we reach the end of our journey today, let me leave you with this profound realization. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are not at the mercy of random events. You are not powerless in an indifferent universe. You are consciousness itself, temporarily wearing the costume of a human being, here to learn the magnificent art of conscious creation. You are the living bridge between heaven and earth, between spirit and matter, between the infinite potential of the above and the tangible experience of the below. The principle of as above, so below isn't just ancient wisdom. It's your instruction manual for mastering life itself. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to apply this principle more deeply. Every success you achieve is evidence of your growing mastery of consciousness. Every relationship, every circumstance, every moment of your life is a chance to practice being the conscious creator you truly are. The ancient mystery schools required years of preparation before students were trusted with this knowledge, because they understood its incredible power. But we live in an extraordinary time when this wisdom is emerging from the shadows, available to anyone ready to embrace their true nature and responsibility. Think about what we've covered today. We've explored how this principle forms the foundation of all authentic spiritual teaching, how it's hidden in plain sight within the scriptures millions read daily, and how you can begin applying it practically to transform every area of your life. But this is just the beginning. There are depths upon depths yet to explore. The Hermetic tradition speaks of 7 universal principles, of which as above, so below is just the first. There are practical methods for accelerating consciousness development that the ancient schools guarded jealously. There are specific techniques for working with the subtle energies that bridge spirit and matter. More importantly, there's your own unique path of discovery waiting to unfold. No one can walk this path for you. No external authority can give you what already exists within you. Your own consciousness is your greatest teacher, your most reliable guide, your most powerful tool for transformation. As you leave here today and return to your daily life, remember that you're carrying this knowledge into a world that desperately needs it. We live in times of great challenge and transition, when the old ways of thinking and being no longer serve us. But hidden within these challenges is an incredible opportunity, the chance for humanity to remember its true nature and step into conscious co-creation with the universe. You are part of that awakening. Every time you choose love over fear, consciousness over unconsciousness, wisdom over ignorance, you're not just transforming your own life. You're contributing to the transformation of our entire world. The ancient Hermetic greeting was know thyself. The deepest meaning of this isn't just intellectual self-understanding. It's the direct recognition that you are consciousness itself, infinite and eternal, temporarily focused through the lens of individual experience. When you know yourself in this way, you naturally begin to live according to the principle we've explored today. Your life becomes a conscious work of art, a deliberate expression of the highest possibilities of human existence. The mystery schools of old have dissolved, but their wisdom lives on in those ready to embody it. You are the modern mystery school. Your life is the curriculum. Your consciousness is both the student and the teacher. The ancient secret is no longer hidden. The question now is, what will you do with this knowledge? The journey of conscious creation awaits. The principle of as above, so below is your compass. Your awakened consciousness is your vehicle. The time is now. The person is you. The possibility is infinite. Welcome to your awakening.